The Taycan is now 5 years old, and with heavy depreciation and the first version of the car coming to an end as the facelift arrives in 2025, the electric Porsche could be the EV of your dreams or the car of your nightmares. For those of you looking to take your first step into EVs, it is worth noting that Porsche couldn't help being Porsche when it came to the Taycan. They weren't looking to compete with the never-ending number of EV startups or become a car company that says it's a tech company, so batteries are actually slightly larger than they're officially rated, and power is accurate and in some instances modest. There is no marketing spin here. For the launch, the company sat journalists down for a solid hour to describe and then unveil the electric motor, a creation that even the most die-hard motoring fan would struggle to retain much interest in, past admiring the fine machining of the cogs, all shown to champion the engineering behind the car. There is no doubt the Taycan was the firm's answer to the lost sales of the Panamera to brands like Tesla, but unlike most brands, there are at least some, if not a lot of effort, put into not emulating the American car company's EV success, and instead showing the firm's own vision. This is important for a used buyer to note, as while new car reviews of almost all electric cars have been glowing over the past 5 years, with even the new car entrants from China, not known for their cars or engineering, scoring highly when new, over on the used market, car traders and used reviewers have a different story to tell. However, when it comes to the Taycan, it is usually the depreciation that becomes focal rather than the quality or lack thereof. Production of the Taycan started in 2019 after the company revealed the first all-electric car at that year's Frankfurt Motor Show. The car had been first shown in concept form back in 2015, dubbed the Mission E, and then the Mission E Gran Turismo at the 2018 Geneva Motor Show. For those of you Porsche fans that want every last detail, the Mission R followed in 2021. This was a sports car version of the electrified future the brand envisaged, and at least some indication of what will become the new Cayman and Boxster as they become EVs in 2025 and 2026. Sales were impacted by global lockdowns and supply issues, but over 140,000 Taycans have now been sold. The years you'll have the most choice are 2020, 2022 and 2023, with sales in 2019, 2021 and 2024 unsurprisingly poorer and with fewer trim choices sold, as these were the launch year, a global supply shortage year, and the last year before a refreshed and facelift model with larger batteries was announced for the 2025 model year. There is also a factor of competitors to remember for sales. Tesla's Model S is the direct rival, and that car went through a heavy revision as sales slipped away, stopping orders for a while. The release of Audi's e-tron GT being somewhat of a bargain Taycan and Mercedes' EQS range, along with BMW's i-Range, have all sped up over the past few years, affecting sales to customers who change between manufacturers regularly. Although one note is that anecdotally I found Porsche owners that have had successive Cayenne or Panameras before their Taycan have come back for a second Taycan model, although current EV incentives are a factor here. While trim levels vary between countries, and I'll come on to models and batteries in the slightly odd sounding engine section of this guide, I should note that the Taycan is sold from 2019, while the Taycan Sport Turismo arrived in 2021 for select markets and 2022 for others. The Cross Turismo was also offered in select markets for 2021, but all in 2022. So if larger cargo area of the shooting brake models, or Turismo as Porsche have dubbed them, are necessary for your life, then 2021 will be the earliest you can find them. One thing that separates all Taycan models from the majority of their competitors is the firm's concentration on handling. Most EVs rely on their improved centre mass to showcase their handling against conventional cars. However, the Taycan gets its electric steering lifted from the team that built the GT3 of the time. The firm had zero interest in this car being anything but a Porsche, and even though the GT3 handling character has been protected within the firm, not shared with any other car aside from the GT4 RS, it was seen as critical to the success of the Taycan that an owner feels they own a special car. Owner feedback is that while the Taycan is certainly no GT3 and inferior to a true sports car or supercar in handling, it is one of the best EV feedback systems for drivers who still want to drive. Note that rear steering is offered, although standard on the Turbo S. Owners without it are generally not too bothered and don't feel it compromises the car. Those with the option believe it helps mask the vehicle's weight and size in everyday driving. For those interested, a base Taycan comes in at 2,140 kilograms or 4,718 pounds, similar to the quoted figure of a Range Rover. Higher specification adds up to 200 kilograms or 440 pounds to the base figure. Moving on to safety, it was a full 5 stars at Euro NCAP, with the 4S being used for crash testing. North American IIHS were not given a test vehicle, however, the two are similar in their crash ratings, and it is very rare that Euro NCAP to score a car with 5 stars and IIHS not to also score the car highly for safety. Aussie New Zealander ANCAP shares data with Euro NCAP, and so also gave it a top safety rating. Moving on to common faults, and a reminder to like the video if you find it useful, as information videos like this spread to others on the platform best through likes. If the guide is really helpful, then consider subscribing and leaving a super chat to support the channel. First up is the thing most EV buyers fear most: battery issues. These are worst in 2019 and 2020, and Taycans that were under warranty usually had a full battery pack replacement, so don't be afraid of one that has had a proper Porsche battery replacement with paperwork. In fact, these may actually be the best pick. It appears that some of the concern was around poor range, and with Porsche keen to keep their customers happy and prove they retain their ideals of quality and performance over all else, battery packs were replaced in cases that many other EV brands may have been much less willing to swap out hardware and instead try various software fixes. This makes the early figures look worse than they really are, but still, asked to view a car with 100% charge, a working Taycan should not lose a lot more range than its onboard system quotes, unless you test drive cars like Michael Schumacher on a Monza qualifying lap. Several media outlets have repeated a claim of 45% of Taycans suffering faults. This isn't entirely fair, as included in the figures were service centres actioning technical logs. However, the following faults are worth checking. The air conditioning system leads to complaints from owners, usually failing to operate correctly using the user interface. Software reboots or updates are usually the answer, but some have needed hardware fixes, so check the system operates ice cold and hot before handing over your money. Red screen with a barrage of warnings has been reported. Cars showing this have left some owners stranded, however in the majority of cases a limp home mode that got them to the dealer. Again, a software reboot is usually the fix. Poor alignment and extremely high alignment costs are a big factor. Any test drive in a Taycan should be done with a portion of smooth and flat road. I know this is getting harder on the crumbling road infrastructure in some countries, but it is an absolute must before you purchase. To do a proper alignment on a Taycan requires a partial disassembly of the front of the car. Owners have quoted up to $900 in the USA and up to £450 in the UK to have the job done. Usually the tyres have worn incorrectly, which is the reason for the highest quote. Some places will do a regular laser alignment on a Taycan for a bargain price. This may help with tyre wear, but it won't be set up as the factory intended. If possible, plug in a Taycan wherever you are buying from, have a chat with a seller for 10 minutes, and then touch the charger. It may be a little warm, but it shouldn't be hot. 2020 models have reports of overheating chargers, and this isn't a problem you want to be stuck with. System glitches affected 2020 cars worst and have created a myriad of issues for owners. Porsche centres are reported as generally good at sorting the issue, but not all technicians may be EV certified in your area, and this can create high waiting times, so it's worth either making a visit to your local Porsche centre or calling before purchasing a Taycan, just to make sure the EV technician isn't working their last day or up to their eyeballs in repair work. Check rear tyre wear, and if there are new tyres on the back, ask an owner how long the last set lasted. Most owners don't have this issue, but uneven tyre wear on the back tyres has been a big problem for some owners with little answer. Chargers have been reported to stop working overnight for some owners. Worse affected are the 2019 and 2020 built cars. Some issues were solved with software fixes, but many owners felt the problem took a long time to resolve, and it was a big marker against EV ownership when they woke up for a long drive ahead, only to realise their car had stopped charging overnight. In the context of reliability, the Taycan appears just above average compared to other guides that I've done, especially for EVs, but unlike its overall build quality and performance, it is not a strong scorer for the brand like their sports cars. Next to the recalls, in 2021 there was a recall for the regular and Cross Turismo model under campaign AMB5 due to a software fault in the power control unit, immobilising the car. There were 2 recalls in 2022, one for cars built from 2020 to 2021 due to wiring harnesses and rear seatbelt impairing the ISOFIX child seat anchors, the second for selected batches across production years that had a covering for the front underseat wiring out of specification, causing chafing and damage to wires. In 2023, another 2 recalls. The first was campaign APB2 and affected cars built in 2022 and 2023 due to manufacturing defects that didn't seal the battery cover and high voltage battery casing, leading to water ingress. The second was campaign AMB8 affecting 2021 to 2022 built cars due to the air spring strut being manufactured outside of manufacturer tolerance. Then there were 3 recalls in 2024, the first affecting a large batch of cars from 2019 to 2023 for battery cell modules being defective and risking thermal overload. This recall was originally announced in early May, but later the same month, the same recall was announced over a wider number of chassis. Campaign codes are ARA4 and ARA5. Then in July 2024, a recall was announced to check front brake hoses on a large range of vehicles built across model years. Next up are the engines, or in this case, batteries and motors. There are 2 batteries split across the models, the 79.2 kWh and 93.4 kWh. Usable is quoted at 71 kilowatts and 83.7 kilowatts. These have been named Performance Battery and Performance Battery Plus, abbreviated to PB and PB Plus on owner forums. As mentioned, actual battery capacity as tested by third parties was slightly larger in the ones they had worked on. A quick note that the Taycan is one of the few electric cars with a gearbox, just 2 speeds. Interestingly, this is for the rear wheels only. The first gear is short ratioed for acceleration, and the second much longer, and will be the gear the car spends most of its time in. The Taycan and Taycan 4S are both sold with 79.2 kWh batteries, along with the Sport Turismo model in base and 4S. Some markets allow all these models to upgrade the battery, others are limited to the base Cayenne having a smaller battery only. But 4 and 4S normally have both options, depending on your country. The base rear-wheel drive model is not a launch model car, and in most markets will not be on sale until 2021. The 4S arrives in 2020 and was easily distinguishable on release from the Turbo and Turbo S because it is fitted with a less powerful rear motor, while the front motor is shared with the more powerful models. If you go for the smaller battery option, the car will be closer to the base model weight. Adding the larger battery adds 75 kilograms or 166 pounds. As mentioned, batteries have been a concern for some owners. However, so far, most have had battery issues resolved by the dealer under the 8-year battery warranty. However, motors have proven to be reliable, unsurprisingly for those that know and appreciate the build quality the brand has become known for, with some notable exceptions over the years, like the IMS bearing on older 911 models. The larger battery is either optional or fitted as standard. The models that come with it as standard are the Taycan 4, Turbo, Turbo S, and GTS. Peak power from these models is 469, 671, 751, and 590 brake horsepower. The fastest of all of these, the Turbo S, gets a 0 to 60 time of 2.6 seconds in US testing. For the rest of the world that measures 0 to 62 miles per hour or 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, it's 2.7 seconds. The newer model, released in 2025, will have a version capable of a 2.2 second 0 to 60 time, although Car and Driver have tested the car at under 2 seconds with a 1-foot rollout that they allow for all cars, competing with the ever-increasing number of 1,000 horsepower EV cars with tyre shredding acceleration times. Overall, battery packs don't seem less or more reliable than the smaller capacity. However, owners are attaining better mileage capacity from the larger battery or PB Plus model, likely due to its larger capacity degrading steadily, but able to retain a bigger overall range from the beginning. Once again, motors seem reliable, even on cars that have been used at drag strips to race EV competitors in the ever-painful Snapper Speedo acceleration battle. On to our choices, and forget acceleration times for a moment. For most of you watching, this will be a family saloon or crossover, and acceleration to 60 miles an hour in this type of car at less than 4 seconds is beyond useless on all but clear highways in Northern Europe or empty parts of the US and Australia. It's also quite uncomfortable for passengers unless they are being filmed for a YouTube video, likely in a bikini for some reason. Don't worry, I won't cut away to a guy I know willing to slip on the silk for views while in the passenger seat. Because of this, I have to agree with my old colleagues and several car journos I've spoken to about the car. The Taycan 4 and 4S with larger batteries are the best picks of the range, and in Gran Turismo, it's a bit of a do-it-all, with some extra ground clearance if you live away from the tarmac, but not up a mountain. Acceleration at 4 seconds 0 to 60, and the extra space for all your accoutrements of family life and the golf clubs, or even more adventurously skis if needed. If you're curious about how the Macan with a conventional engine stacks up, why not check out that guide, or the guide for the Cayenne next. As ever, all the best with your car search.